What's going on, YouTube? This is Eric Kelly, aka the Tech Gentleman. Going ahead and getting this thing started. Going to give people time to get in. Make sure my setup is right. Make sure my audio is good. Make sure my video is good. See if I can. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Give folks a little time to hop in right quick. Oh yeah. Alright, we should be waiting for folks to hop on in. Live, let's see what we got. What's up? What's going on, everybody? Starting on time. Already got some yeah, we starting on time right now. Let's see who all I got in there. Make sure as you drop in, make sure you give me a shout out in the chat so I give you a shout out. Let you know I appreciate you for stopping through. Got a couple topics we're gonna discuss. Yo, man, I don't know what just happened. My whole setup just fell over. Apologize about the technical difficulties. Let me get back right. Alright. Yeah, man, my gimbal just went crazy for a second. Decided to take a little tumble. But yeah, guys, I'm going to go ahead and get started because, like I said, I was going to start at 11:30 Central Time. It's 11:32, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started with the topics. Still got one person in. Doesn't seem right. I feel like YouTube is shorting me on my view count right now. But yeah, guys. So the first thing I'm gonna talk about something a little light. Is last night at the Grammys. I don't know if y'all watched, but the commercials were on point. Right, the Grammy commercials on point. We had Apple basically stealing the show as far as the commercials went. They had two main commercials that I saw, the HomePod commercial, and they also had another commercial that kind of took some of the music from the live performers of the Grammys and they incorporated it into their commercial. Like the first one was they were playing Kendrick Lamar after the Kendrick Lamar performance, and the second commercial they were playing some Childish Gambino right after a Childish Gambino performance. I thought that was pretty slick on Apple's part, and I thought they were pretty cool commercials. Just advertised some of their products. Like I said, one was the HomePod, the other one was, I believe, an iPhone X commercial or something like that. But Google also had a commercial, but their commercial was definitely a lot less product focused. And it was also performance relevant. So the Google commercial aired after the Logic performance. And if you don't know about Logic, he's a mixed rapper. He talks about conscious things a lot, mostly about race and racism and equality and things like that. But last night, the song that he did, the title of the song is actually the Suicide Hotline. It talked about suicide and letting people know that you're important and you're here and he sees you and things like that. And directly after that, Google aired a commercial where they actually, showed like some people that I guess struggled with, thoughts of suicide and depression. It was sort of like a PSA for suicide awareness, and I thought that was interesting as well. Some people gave them a little slack, saying that the Apple commercials were all about Apple, and Google's commercial was about everybody else. But I think they were both. I think they were both tasteful commercials. The Apple commercials weren't, there were no issues with the Apple commercials or anything like that. But let's see. Let me check the comments right quick. See what we got in. Oh man, let me turn this heat down, man. This weather been killing me. It's supposed to be freezing tonight in the 20s and high 50 something today. So you just kind of wear all the clothes and hope for the best. All right, so no comments right now. That's cool. We're gonna go ahead and push through. So of course the next topic. It's a slow news time right now. We're waiting on the Galaxy S9 to be announced next month, but there's just a little bit more speculation on the Galaxy S9. They're talking about the pricing, which they're saying is going to be, of course, ridiculously high. Going to have 2 units, S9 and S9 Plus. Thinking the S9 Plus is probably going to be closer to like $950, which is like Note territory, which is, like I said, it's a bad trend. Started last year. iPhone X, Note 8, Pixel 2 XL, all of those phones were, $950, $1,000 when they launched. And I figure some manufacturers will be trying to take advantage of that this time around, but it's not looking good for y'all, man. It's not looking good at all. Especially if the S9, if the S9 is $950, it's gonna be problems when the Note 8 come out or the Note 9 comes out. Ain't no telling, man. But ironically, while Samsung is in the news for possibly having super expensive phones, Apple is actually in the news for coming out with possibly another Apple X SE, which I don't know if you're familiar with the SE variant, but the SE was the iPhone 5 that they brought back a couple years ago with iPhone 5 body, but they had the iPhone 6 internals. I mean, iPhone 4 body, my bad, but they had the iPhone 6 internals. So you got the kind of the best of both worlds if you're looking for a small but powerful phone with a good camera. And supposedly they're going to do the same thing this year with another SE, but it might look like the X, which if that's the case, I don't know if the price is going to be super low. But I know for sure it's supposed to be a smaller variant of that, which you'll probably be seeing a lot from Apple this year. See, let me hop in the chats right quick. See, yeah, still no chat, man. I know I usually have a couple people that's hit me up by now. Let me make sure everything going off good. Refresh my stream. Yeah, as you come in, make sure you give me a shout out so I can let everybody know I got in the building watching and show you my appreciation for coming through. Yeah, I don't have any text or anything. Anybody sending any issues. So I'm going to press on, man. You guys are shy. You don't want to comment. That's cool. Kind of like to have this as kind of an open discussion. But I do have topics that that I want to discuss as well. So we'll push on with those. So the, like I said, this is a slow news week. We're waiting on the S9 to launch. But the only other thing that's kind of in the news right now that's coming up is the slowness of Samsung updates. Now, anybody who knows me knows I'm a fan of Samsung as an Android manufacturer. I feel like they're one of the few companies that kind of fire on all cylinders. So, you get a quality product You get, cutting edge specs, but you also get, the marketing and advertisement. So you get that brand recognition, and you also get the partnerships with, third-party companies for accessories like cases and chargers and, stuff like that, and availability, which is a big part. I feel like usually companies fire kind of on at most 2 of those cylinders, so maybe they have a quality product, maybe they have some accessories, but the availability is kind of shot. I think that's what HTC's been going through. You can't walk in the store and look at an HTC device. You have to buy it off their site, which is kind of discouraging for me, because I definitely like to take a look at a device before I buy it, for sure. Or, you have a quality device, but, you aren't firing on the marketing and advertising tip. Maybe it is available in the store, but nobody knows it exists, which is going to hurt, accessory deals, because people aren't going to make cases for a phone that they feel like nobody's going to buy. With that being said, Samsung's in the news for these slow updates. So, like I said, I'm a Samsung guy. I have other brand phones as well, but usually my daily driver the past couple of years has been some Samsung device. This year it's the Note 8, as of right now, with the S8 Plus backing me up. S7, S7 Edge, Note 5 before that, with some other brands sprinkled in there, but the updates are kind of getting on my nerves right now. Every time I look in the news, some random phone is getting Oreo. There's no Samsung phone right now that is running Oreo. And Oreo's been out for almost 6 months, and there's no phone that's running it. Not even the flagships. Even if they just picked, the latest flagship, the Note 8, or even if they did the S8, S8 Plus, they've had betas, but there's no official release. On top of the fact that they've moved on, Google has moved on to release Android 8.1 already. And so that's already out. And as far as the features, I don't really care about that, but it's just the fact that Samsung's history, and I really had hopes for them because they've been doing the beta program, but their history has been you don't get a new update until a new phone drops, which I feel like is kind of shorting your customers because, Android isn't what it used to be. The updates aren't as, front facing, but they're usually kind of back end things. So with Android 8.0 is supposed to be more of a, battery enhancement, battery management type of deal, which from looking at the controls on the S8 Plus, I would love to have those on my Note 8 because I already get good battery life on that. But I would love to have those features, and there's no reason why I shouldn't yet, in my mind, because graphically the user interface doesn't change that much. It's not a huge overhaul. It's mostly a back end update. So let me check in the comments. Shout out to my fellow church member and frat brother Carlos Long, man. He said, "Sup, dude, trying to catch you. Appreciate you for stopping through." Like I said, if you're watching, shoot me a shout out in the comments. Just say what's up so I know you're watching. I can give you a shout out. Let you know I appreciate you for coming through. Appreciate you, brother. The topic I was just discussing was the slowness of Samsung updates. It's kind of getting ridiculous at this point. It's about to be February, and they're going to be announcing the S9 and S9 Plus this month, and there's still no Oreo update for any of the Samsung phones, the S8, S8 Plus, or the Note 8 at this point. And it's not even an issue of, features, because a lot of features that are in stock Android actually are modeled after some features in Samsung devices. So we kind of have that stuff already, like the picture-in-picture and the multitasking stuff. Notification things are cool that you get in Oreo, but they're not life-changing, I don't think. But it's just, for me, like I say, the battery features are something that I would like to have, and at this point, there's no reason we shouldn't have them yet. So if you got any comments on that, any opinions on that, definitely hit me up in the chats about it, especially if you have some personal experiences with some other manufacturers. Like I know the HTC U11 and U11 Plus and U11 Life are having, they have Oreo already. Let's see, I can't remember if the LG V30 got Oreo already, but it's probably on the way, if I had to guess. Especially with them doubling down on their existing lineup instead of releasing a new phone every year. Yeah, they got to come quick with the updates. Let's see. Carlos says, "Have you ever used a Huawei?" I hear a lot about them. So yeah, actually, the only Huawei I have experience with is the Nexus 6P, which is manufactured by Huawei. So it's not running their software, but it is their hardware, and they just partner with Google for it to run stock Android. And that's actually the device that I have right now that has Oreo 8.1 on it. It's an older device. I bought it used. It came out in 2015, but it still runs surprisingly well. Kind of lags here and there, but when it was brand new, it was really what kind of opened people's eyes in the U.S. to Huawei, especially Nexus users, because we were used to working with HTC and LG, but Huawei came through. Their hardware is great. I love the build of that phone. I don't have any experience with the software, but I say this: the Mate 10, the Mate 10 Pro, those are some good looking phones, man. I've heard nothing but great things about them, from the camera to the screens. I made some weird decisions as far as the specs, because they have a Mate 10, which has a 2K screen, but it's only IPS. But then the Mate 10 Pro, which is more expensive, has a 1080p plus screen or whatever. So it's 2560 by 1080, which isn't quite 2K. But either way, people are really praising them for their design of that phone. It's pretty much all glass and metal build, glass back with an aluminum band around it. Got some cool colors, doing some interesting stuff with cameras. The SoCs on the Huawei's are dope. Last year they came out with the 960, which was a beast. Well, I guess the tail end of 2015, they came out with the 960. It's 2018. So the tail end of 2016, they came out with the Kirin 960, which beat the brakes off of the Snapdragon. Last year they came with the 970, which once again was beating the brakes off the Snapdragon. And right now it's a beast. But yeah, the Huawei phones, I've heard nothing but good things about them. The software, people kind of, either love it or hate it. But at this point, man, I hate that they couldn't solidify that deal or those deals with Verizon and AT&T to bring their phones to the U.S. In a carrier. Because I think that if you put their phones in a carrier, that's going to be trouble for everybody. Let me see. Oh, man. So going to the chats. So they might have had a little technical hiccup. Let me see. Yep, that was my fault. Appreciate their fours, man. It was not public. I went through everything. I set it up, did a thumbnail, scheduled it ahead of time, started on time, man. But I didn't have it listed as public. That was my fault. So let me see if anybody else is able to get in. So with that being the case, I don't really expect people to hop in now, because it is at this point 18 minutes after the time it was supposed to be live. But if you do hop in, make sure you hit me up in the chats. Let me see. What up, Sean? See Sean in the chat. Appreciate you for stopping through. Appreciate you for finding this stream, man, because since it was unlisted, unless you had a specific link and went to it, that's the only way you would be able to watch it right now. So appreciate you for stopping through. Like I say, yeah, we're gonna be a low count stream this time, because like I said, it's supposed to start at 11:30, and it did, but it wasn't live then. Yeah, man, Sean, you definitely been sticking with me, man, and supporting Team 100. We really appreciate that. Yeah, Forbes says it happens, man. Yeah, trying to be on the ball, man. But I did start on time, though. I actually started a minute early, just to make sure if there's anybody who had any issues with, sound or quality or anything like that, they could hit me up and let me know. But yeah, man, if you're coming in, apologize for this going public late. I accidentally started this stream with it unlisted, so if you had notifications on, it didn't come through. But I did start on time. And as you come in, definitely give me a shout out in the comments so I can shout you out for coming through. See, Sean says I'm a hype for the S9 Plus. I'm definitely ready for the S9 Plus. Snapdragon, I think they're a little bit behind the ball, but I think this is the year that they kind of catch up in the 845 with some of the features. But the Exynos in the S9 Plus is supposed to be ridiculous, especially when it comes to camera features. Possibly 4K at 120 frames, 1080p at like some ridiculously high frame rate. And that also should go into the camera and photo processing as well. All the extra horsepower they have. See, what's up, big dog? You just stopped in. Appreciate you guys for coming through. I know this notification is late, but you know that was a technical issue on my part. I didn't set it as public, so it just went live unlisted, and unless you had the link, that's the only way to get it. Let's see, what's up, Spiritonov? Appreciate you for coming through, brother. But yeah, man, so the topics that I discussed, there was probably like 1 or 2 people in here. The first topic I discussed, if you watched the Grammys last night, Google and Apple both had some commercials. I think Apple kind of killed it with the commercials. They were actually relevant to the performers that were going. So, you know, after Kendrick Lamar went, Apple fired up a HomePod commercial playing some Kendrick Lamar in the background. And then after Childish Gambino went, the next commercial fired up and they had some Childish Gambino playing. It was pretty cool. Google's wasn't as, you know, it was actually relevant to the performances, but it followed up Logic's performance, which was based on suicide awareness. And I thought that was pretty cool. Let's see, Sean says the Grammys were okay, at least they did hip hop right this year. Yeah, you know, I don't know. Yeah. Sean says still think Cardi B is trash. Yeah, man, she winning. You know, I think that lets you know that there's somebody out there who likes some of everything, man. You know, nobody's alone. You know, ratchet people got to eat too. You know, they got to live. So I think this is Cardi B's time. I think it's impossible, personally, for her to really have any longevity in the spotlight like this. You know, Forbes says Cardi B for the win. Yeah, man, she got some fans out there for real. You know, she's the new hotness right now. But, you know, time will tell. You know, whether she's a flash in the pan or whether she's gonna have some longevity or not. Like I said, I don't think she will, but you know, that's just me. All right, make sure I didn't miss any comments or any shout outs. All right. Yeah, man, so like I said, the Grammys were cool last night. Music focused, of course. Apple dropped something about the HomePod. The next topic that I want to talk about was slowness of Samsung updates. I know Forbes gonna love this. I know this is right up his alley. Let's see, Sean says, yes, he's getting success, but that's it. Trump is successful, so salute people that's successful. All right. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's definitely the year of anybody can do anything. Anybody can be successful. So I think Trump and Cardi B showed us that firsthand. But yeah, just kind of going back from earlier, talking about the Samsung updates. There's no Samsung flagships running Oreo right now. And personally, you know, having some devices that have Oreo and actually running the Oreo beta on my SA Plus, the cosmetic differences aren't that big, so you're not really missing out on any features, but the performance differences that you get. Oreo seemed a little bit smoother, but I would just love to have that and the battery management from Oreo on the Note 8. So the Note 8 already, I think, does a great job of battery management with the size battery it has for the screen it has, but you know, the battery could definitely use some more management options. And on top of that, 6 gig of RAM in the Note 8 has been serving it well. And I love to see those features in the Note 8. You know, you got to have that in the flagship. But the S9 looks like it's going to drop before any Samsung devices from last year get Oreo. And it's been out for like 6 months. So I don't really appreciate that, Samsung. I feel like you got to step it up. You know, I'm a big fan. But yeah, man, we got to do better. See, Sean says is the S series might keep up with the Note series. Keep with the Note series. I don't know. I feel like they've got to set the Note series apart simply because we always know there's going to be some price difference between the S line and the Note line, and with the S line seeming to be even more expensive this year, they gotta do something crazy with the Note. I don't know if they're gonna try to, you know, swing an in-screen fingerprint sensor or, you know, do some more camera stuff. You know, I definitely expect the camera to be on par with the Note this year, because last year there's a big disparity between the S8 Plus camera and the Note 8 camera as far as features, because the Note 8 has the dual lens. So it's the only phone in Samsung's lineup that has the portrait mode capability, which was big last year. I thought they were going to try to port that back to the S8 Plus somehow, but they never did. And in the S8 Plus Oreo beta, there was no signs of that either in the camera app. So they might just miss out on it. But, you know, that's something that hopefully we'll get in the S line on the front and the rear cameras. Supposedly the Snapdragon 845 is supposed to be able to handle that. And the Exynos is going to be a beast. The Exynos supposedly is going to be as powerful as the A11 Bionic in the Apple devices last year. And that chip was like desktop performance level, you know, fast. So that'll be cool. I don't think they have an excuse this year. But they got to do something, you know, they got to do something crazy to get back on top. Everybody came for their neck with the cameras last year. And I think Samsung has to respond accordingly. You know, they survived the Note 7 debacle, but you know, they got to come with it this year. We know everybody's capable of making good phones, good hardware, good cameras. You know, they just got to follow through. See, Sean says, I'm excited for the U12. Yeah, HTC's got to get their phone back in stores, man. I don't know what happened last year, at least on T-Mobile or Sprint or somebody. You know, I don't know. I mean, I understand they're not making that much money. Really, the only people making money is Samsung. Everybody else is struggling. LG's been posting losses in their mobile division for a couple years now. I know HTC's been struggling. They had to get a little, they actually had to sell off some people to Google for a little stipend to keep them going. But yeah, man, I'm excited for the U12. I just hope that I can see it without having to buy one first. Forbes says, I hope they fix the cameras. Yeah, the cameras definitely can, you know, be stepped up. They're still great cameras, but when everybody's making great cameras, that's not even a, you know, that's not even an advertising point anymore. So they definitely got to do better from that front. Let's see. See, Sean says T-Mobile is the key. Yeah, man, I think that as long as T-Mobile lets them come in and, you know, doesn't try to take over, you know, loading with a bunch of bloatware and things like that, you know, I feel like T-Mobile should be the, you know, the entry point. You know, if you're struggling, you can't afford, you get your phone on AT&T and Verizon because it costs too much for their certification processes. And you know they're going to try to, you know, slap their logos all over it and fill it up with bloatware. I think T-Mobile might be the way out. I hope Huawei, you know, goes ahead and, you know, bites the bullet and makes up a deal with T-Mobile to try to get their phones here, man. See, Forbes says U12 with the 4K display. I don't know about all that, man. I don't know about that. 4K display on the U12. Because it doesn't really seem like phone manufacturers are going for more resolution. I think that Samsung was, you know, really big on that train. But they don't really seem to be that, you know, pressed to increase the resolution, because, to be honest, at 2K, it's really only certain scenarios you notice a difference between 2K and 1080p on the screen. Now, as the screens get bigger, then of course there's a bigger difference. But I think for most phones, you know, the need to go to 4K over 2K, especially if they're not going to increase the size of the battery and things like that. You know, I'm fine with 2K if they stick around with that. See, what up, Sixto Lewis? Appreciate you for stopping through. You see here, it says, Sean says, are you going to check out smartphone camera lenses? If they made some for, well, I'll take that back. Something happens and I end up getting a Pixel because that camera is amazing. Moment Lenses makes, some lens kits for the Pixel. And I think that might be dope to play around with. Sixto Lewis says, in the Note 9, also with 4K display, hopefully, if no in-screen fingerprint sensor. That's true, especially for the price they're probably going to be charging for it. I mean, they got to give you something, man. At a certain point, it's not even about whether you notice the difference or not, or whether it matters. Once you get to paying close to $1,000 for a smartphone, the question isn't if something is good or if it works. The question needs to be, is this the best? Because at that price, you can't charge the highest price and not have the best, right? You gotta check some of them boxes. Can't charge $1,000 and have second best screen, second best camera, second best battery life. That just doesn't work that well, man. For those prices, you got to be the best at something. You got to be, you paying for specs. It's like buying a sports car. You know you're gonna take a hit on gas mileage, but you're not buying it for that. You're buying it to go fast. You're buying it to handle well. You're buying it to, at least look fast. But all the other stuff is on a cheaper phone. That stuff would be a bonus, right? You paying $300 for a phone, it's got a 1080p display, then you can say, oh, that's good enough, because you could have paid more and got more. But when you paying the most, and there's literally no more money you can pay, it's got to have the best on it. That's my personal opinion. That's the only way to justify paying more for a device. Because these mid-range phones, man, they getting tough. Build quality is great, build materials is great, performance is great. Battery life is beating the brakes off of some of these high-end phones, man. It's getting tough out here. See, Sean says QHD is dope too. Yeah, man, I have no problem with QHD, especially on a screen that's less than 6 inches. You 5.7, 5.8 inches. QHD is gonna be crispy. I think the more important thing right now is HDR, because that's something that actually, if you just look at the screen, you glance at an HDR screen. Like the first time I saw HDR on my Note, I was blown away. Blown away. Like that's the difference that it made. Granted, the Note had one of the brightest and best screens last year, but that's still the difference maker. If I turned on 1080p and showed somebody my phone, then turn on 2K, they would not notice. They would never notice. It's not something you just look at and appreciate like that. But the HDR is the business, though. Let's see. Tech for your needs. What's up, brother? Appreciate you for stopping through. Let's see. Sean says, if I'm paying $1,000, I need to see perfection. Exactly, man. You gotta be killing it on some front. You can't be mediocre. You can't be second best at everything. You're not paying for an all-around good phone at $1,000. You paying for, you got to deliver me a certain type of experience, right? So like I said, if I buy a sports car, if I'm buying a Ferrari, it ain't got no trunk in the back. I can only get two Walmart bags in there, but I'm not buying it for that. I'm buying it to go faster than everybody else on the face of the planet. That's the goal. If they help me achieve that, then it's worth the money. But if it's going to be, getting beat by, at this point, sedans, which a lot of them are, it's hard to justify that money, man. At that point, it's just bragging rights. Sean says sports cars are amazing for a first car. Yeah. The last person I heard tell me that was a salesman. He was like, yeah, man, you get a sports car because it's safer, because you can maneuver better. You can just avoid accidents altogether. That's why you need a sports car instead of a family sedan. They're like, that's slick, man. See, Tech for Your Needs says, what is perfection? Ultimate phone was the Aria modular phone, but doesn't exist because people would any new phone just switch the part that is needed. The Aria, Project Aria had it was ugly, man. It was ugly and kind of impractical. I think that it was a good idea. That'd be cool, but I don't think that tech exists yet to be modular, and you would definitely be making some compromises from a build quality standpoint, durability, if you went Project Aria modular. If you went that level of modular, like I said, that'd be cool. You got an SA Plus. Samsung comes out with the S9. It's got a dope new camera on it. You pay, $100 or so, get you a new camera mod, pop it on your SA Plus. Now you got the new camera tech. That'd be cool, but it's definitely not going to be in a package like this. It's definitely not going to be as slick and seamless as phones are now. So I think there's we got some time to go before tech gets to the point where that's something we can do. But perfection, I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. Sixto Lewis says the thing that I don't like about Samsung is that you literally need to get the next phone to get the new Android operating system. That is something Apple is always going to have one up on Samsung. Yeah, that's true. And if you ever heard me talk about Apple updates before, the updates are kind of, for one, they're easy because they put out 2 phones a year, possibly 3 at the most. So it's just easier for them to update their phones. And also, their phones don't do a lot. The OS is very simple. But Samsung actually, if you take stock Android, Samsung literally has to design a whole new UI and a whole new framework to put on top of stock Android in order for you to get the feature set that you get on the Samsung device, especially on the Note. So kind of comparing them to Apple, I think, is unfair. I wouldn't go that far, but I do compare them to other Android manufacturers because that's the same approach they all take. They all take stock Android and jazz it up a little bit. I think that, though, you could stand to be a little bit simpler. Maybe the launcher is the stock launcher. Maybe you don't need a whole new dialer. Maybe you don't need a whole new messaging app. Maybe you don't need a whole new email app. Dial back some of these extra applications you're putting on there that Google already has made for you, and just focus on the framework. Give me the feature set. The multitasking is better than stock Android, easily. It just is. The S Pen functionality you get with that, that doesn't exist in stock Android. I understand. Go ahead and give me that stuff. But if you need to, I was talking about this earlier, Samsung needs to find a way to where they can where they can get these updates out in a more timely manner. We're lucky that they untethered the security updates from the OS update. So at least you can be up to date security-wise, even if you're still lagging behind on your OS update. Let's see. Okay, Sean says, I'm trying to get my first car this year. Hey, that's what's up, Sean, man. I hope you can get that sports car, man. I take back everything I said. Sports car is the best first car. Tell your folks I said that, man. See, Tech for Your Needs says, that's an old comment. Let's see, Sixto Lewis says, because if I'm paying $1,000, give me longevity, not just features. Yeah, I totally agree with that. And as of right now, longevity comes through updates. Updated features, security updates. That's really where the longevity of these phones is at right now, because hardware-wise, these phones are great. Like I said, I got the Nexus 6P that's running Android 8.1 right now, and it has some hiccups here and there. The battery life isn't great, but that phone came out almost 3 years ago, and that's a long time in Android land for you to still have a phone. But build-wise, the phone is still great. Camera is a little sluggish with taking pictures and saving them, just because the processor is having a difficult time processing the HDR plus. But it's still doable. It still takes good pictures. So I think that longevity would be the key. And I'm interested to see what LG does, because that seems to be their play that they're going for, is coming out with the phone when they need to and then just supporting the crap out of that phone. So I don't know, maybe they'll come up with some new way to do things that gets us updated faster. Let's see. Sean says, my definition of a perfect phone is an all-around device with no compromises, no second best. Yeah. I mean, that's the definition of perfect. You first in everything. So Yeah, I agree with that. Forbes says, so Sean, you must be talking about the U11. Yeah, we gonna disregard that, Forbes. You probably sleepy or need a nap or something like that. It's nap time for you. See, Tech for Your Needs says, what is the best phone? Is the one that works for you. It's based on preference, needs of one individual. So what is a good phone for you? It may not be for me. I think that's true about design, but I think that at a certain point you have to be objective. Like some phones do things better than others. There are ways to test it. There are metrics you can use. You can tell if a phone is better than another phone at something, right? So I think whether you like a certain manufacturer or you like a design or something like that, that's one thing. But if a phone has a dim, poorly made screen, it's got a dim screen. It's not the best. There are ways you can measure that. If a phone has bad battery, you can measure that. If a phone has bad cameras, you can measure that. So I think that, at a certain point that is personal preference, but, when we pull out the measurements, man, you got to be up there. You got to be. For it to even be for it even to get to the point where people can say, like, well, I prefer this. That's why this is perfect for me. You can't tell me that the LG V30 front-facing camera, you just prefer that. Like, the camera's trash. Like, that's measurable, both objectively and subjectively. Whoever you ask, you show them a Pixel 2 selfie, you show them a V30 selfie, LG's taking the L every time. Every single time. So, those are my thoughts on that. Sean says, U11 is a great all-around phone, but it does have its minimal flaws. Look, I've never touched the U11, and personally, I think that that's a flaw in it, because anytime I tell my wife, like, hey, I got to go somewhere after work, she's like, oh, you going to Best Buy, huh? Either Best Buy or Verizon, or, if a carrier has a phone that's exclusive to them that I want to play around with, I'll go there and play around with it. Might take some pictures. If it get good to me, I'll even shoot a little video on it. But, you got to make your device available. You can't make the best phone on the face of the planet and not sell it, man. Shout out to the tech couple. Appreciate y'all for stopping through. I know, at 11:30, the stream wasn't showing up, but I was live. It was just unlisted, so that's my fault. Let's see. What's up, KB? Appreciate you for coming through. KB says, hey, Tech, Gent, Forbes, and Sean. Good afternoon, fellas. Yeah. So, the tech couple, they co-signing what Tech for Your Needs is saying. And like I say, at a certain point, if you had to choose between an iPhone or a Pixel or a Note 8 at this point, I think you can argue any of those devices being the best device for you. Because I think that at that point, you can't look at a Note 8 screen and an iPhone screen and say, like, yeah, this Note 8 screen is just, objectively, it's just better. Like, it's just better. Like, you can't do that. I think if you have a preference on screen size, that's personal preference, but there is no perfect screen size, I don't think. Because somebody might have big hands, and the Note 8 might fit perfectly for them. But that's a design choice. That's not a, feature or functionality or hardware choice, Let's see. But yeah, so for everybody that, just got in, appreciate y'all for coming through. A couple of the topics we discussed. I'm going to go a little long today because we were about 18 minutes late before I flipped it over to public. Accidentally started it on private. On unlisted, so that's my problem. Let's see. Tech Couple says it's hard to compare iPhone and Android objectively because they offer features critical to the user experience, but both provide features not beneficial to the masses. Yeah, the iPhone and Android, especially, I think the most bizarre comparison you can try to make is the Note 8 to any Apple device. I feel like the Note 8 is kind of in its own category because it's not even targeted at everybody. Samsung knows when they sell the Note 8, it's for a certain set of users. They got a certain demographic they're trying to reach, a certain subset of Android users. But like an S8, S8 Plus going against the iPhone 8, iPhone 8 Plus, that's a more direct comparison. But still, if you're in the all Google ecosystem, it's kind of hard to justify going over to an Apple product, and vice versa. If you're investing in Apple's ecosystem, you got an Apple TV, you buying an Apple HomePod. Shout out to the tech couple. I know y'all about to scoop that up. I can't even jokingly suggest that you go to an Android device, because you're literally going to lose functionality. And that's kind of the goal, right? So Apple and Samsung, they want you in their ecosystem, basically to the point where you're locked in. You spent so much money on it. You invested in accessories and cases and apps, on the App Store and stuff like that. You're not just going to switch over. It's going to be hard, and that's what they want to do. Let's see. Ford says, my daughter is becoming an Apple head. Says she wants the HomePod for her dorm room. And he says she's getting the Apple Watch next week. Yeah, man. So your daughter's gonna be an Apple person. It makes no sense for her to, buy Apple stuff and then go ahead and buy a Google Home Mini. Why? Especially if you got Apple TV. Like if you got Apple TV, there's no place for Amazon nothing, no place for Google nothing, because they're not going to work with your Apple TV that well, at all. Kind of defeats the purpose. Same goes for me. I got Google Homes because I got Chromecasts on every one of my TVs. A lot of TVs are coming with Chromecast built in, which makes it easier for you to use a Google Home to, use your voice to send shows to it and stuff like that. See, what's up, Donovan? Appreciate you for coming through, brother. He says, thanks for the heads up at Forbes Tech. Yeah, appreciate Forbes. Fellow Team 100 member, man. I know he's working out there trying to get this link out to people, because I messed up on the beginning. I didn't set it as public. I set it as unlisted. So, people did get a little late, probably past their lunchtime, especially if you came in at 11:30. I can't blame you for, waiting around for 10 minutes and then, saying, forget this. I have to catch them next week, man. But yeah, so it's I'll probably go to 12:30 today, simply because I got some people coming in and we got some good topics going. See, Tech for Your Needs says, regarding towards my question, it depends on the person if they are tech savvy. But if you ask your average consumer, with a different answer. So it's up to the individual. I mean, at the end of the day, it's definitely up to the individual. I mean, I think for most people, their pockets are going to determine which phone is best for them. I think if they open that Bank of America or Wells Fargo app or whatever, that's going to give them a lot of direction on which phone to buy when they in the store. So, it's definitely up to you personally. Not saying that there's like a one size fits all, but I think that there's a difference between preference and perfection, right? If you try to say something that's perfect, that means that like perfection is relative, right? So it can only be perfect compared to everything else that's out there. So you have to, compare it to other phones in order for it to be perfected. But for your preference, you can select your preference in the vacuum. You can say, I'm 5'2", I got small hands. So in that scenario, off the bat that a small phone is going to be better for you, without having to look at any big phones. You got small hands, and though they, especially with the fingerprint sensor placement, is probably not going to be best for you. I think that's just one of those things. See, Sean says at Forbes Tech, she really is. You see what, oh yeah, he's commenting on something else. But yeah, Forbes says, I got your back, man. Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I really do. But yeah, man, as y'all come in, make sure y'all hit me up in the chat, man. I want to know, as right now, like I said, we got the S9 coming up in February. I want to know how many people are going to get the S9. That's what I want to know. The Snapdragon 845 is supposed to be a beast. If you're overseas, I'm jealous because the Exynos is going to be a beast for sure. It's going to be crazy. S9 or S9 Plus, fingerprint sensor is in a regular human place on the back below the camera. It's not in the kind of the offset weird spot which I acknowledge that's weird. I don't have an issue with the fingerprint sensor. I can reach it, pretty easily. I have larger hands though, but yeah, they kind of backpedal a little bit and put it in a regular location, which I think is better. Because that was kind of one of the only complaints people had with the SA and SA Plus with the fingerprint sensor. Everything else, people loved. Even the audio, man, the wired audio, the DAC on the S8 and S8 Plus, and the Note 8. Drastic improvements over the S7 and S7 Edge. Yeah, definitely. So Donovan says S9 Plus for me. I'm definitely on the Plus train. Like I said, the smaller phone. And also, rumor has it that instead of the only differences between the S9 and S9 Plus being the battery size and the screen size, they say that the S9 Plus is going to get actual camera features that the S9, the smaller one, isn't going to get, which is going to be a first, because Samsung has always, kept the specs the same. So I don't know how I feel about that. I think I don't know. I would say they're dropping the ball, but Apple does it, the past couple of years, and people don't really seem to be bothered. But I guess if you care more about the camera, you just get the big one. But if not, I guess you'll get the small one. Save you some money, and either way, the camera's gonna be good. So, Ted for your needs says peace out. Peace. I'm out. Appreciate you for coming through, brother. Be safe. Donovan says stereo speakers is a rumor too, right? Yeah, supposedly they're going to be copying Apple and a couple other manufacturers with the dual speaker setup, but I think they're going to do the earpiece along with a bottom firing speaker setup, which is something they could really incorporate that in any phone, but they waited to the S9 to do it. Tech Couple says the first for Samsung, LOL. Yeah. Tech Couple says I will not troll. Yeah, man. Yeah, and like I say, I started out kind of giving Samsung a hard time, so I'm not too high on my Samsung horse right now. What is up, Easy Computer Solutions? What's going on, brother? Said, what's up, peeps? In the building. Sean says you gotta go, peace. All right, bro, be safe. Y'all be safe out there, man. So right now, just discussing really the only upcoming phone launch we got, which is the S9 and S9 Plus. Going to be announced in February at NWC. I don't know. I'm kind of, for the past couple of years, I've never really been excited before I touch the phone. So, so maybe once I get my hands on it, I'll be a little bit more excited about it. But as of right now, man, the only thing that's interesting to me is the 4K at 120 frames. If they pull that out, that's going to be crazy. But they have got to use some other codec, man, because the 4K files on the Note and the S8 Plus are already huge, and that's just at 30 frames a second. So they're going to do 120. That's going to be ridiculous. It's going to be crazy. See, Donovan says, I'm at work pretending to work. Hey, man, I appreciate you for making that sacrifice, man. I appreciate you for choosing to pretend to work to watch my stream, man. That's what's up. So, yeah, man. So, anybody else think they're going to be getting the S9? See, Easy says, I hope they fix 1080p 60. Yeah, man, I don't know what they did. I don't know if that was... So, I've never played around with an Exynos S8 or S8 Plus. They did something, though, because the focusing on the S7 and S7 Edge used to be instantaneous. It used to be the same way it is on the 4K. But for whatever reason, the 1080p 60 on the S8 and S8 Plus is, the focusing is kind of sluggish. Sometimes misses focus, kind of bounces a little bit. That's one of my big motivators for not using 1080 anymore and going to 4K for all my videos, because, you know, the focus hunting was, you know, kind of bad. They came out with some updates, and the targeting is better on the focus, but it's still slow and noticeable compared to 4K. Right? You can put it on something, it has to think for a second, then it'll focus in on it. versus, you know, the 4K. As you're, you know, in real time, as you're panning, it's focusing on everything that it comes across, to where by the time you get to your next subject, it's already in focus. Like, you don't even see the snap or the bounce or anything. So hopefully they get that together. But I'm curious if that was a Snapdragon issue or if that was the actual Samsung camera sensor issue, because they should have been using the same sensor. So that doesn't really make any sense. And I know the Snapdragon has some camera limitations. Donovan says, do you use a phone for your videos then? Yeah, if you look at my channel, I use all phones. I've been maining the V20 up until late last year, when just kind of, I was out at one of my daughter's events, and usually I have, you know, like a little tripod or something, and my V20, because I can use the manual controls for video to record it, you know, set my exposure and, you know, focusing and ISO and all that. But I was struggling because it was a really high contrast situation. Like, we were in the dark, but there was some spotlights, and then there was a hard spotlight on the stage, and it was just either overblowing or underexposing the stage. And I just pulled the Note out on auto, pointed at the stage, put it in 4K, started shooting video on auto. The auto video on the Note 8 was better than anything I could do with the manual controls on the V20. And I think that's just a limitation of the sensor and the aperture size on the V20. But yeah, since then I've been using either my SA Plus or my Note 8 for videos. But like I said, all of 2015 S7 Edge, man, all the way. S7 Edge, blowing. I mean, that phone camera was amazing. Before that, it was probably the Note 5. But that's usually, if you see my videos, I'm always using a phone camera. As of right now, I don't really have a preference between the Note and the Samsung S8 Plus, but I've retired the V20. It's just not cutting it for me anymore. See, Donovan says the HTC U11 doesn't have the focus hunting issues, and it has the same processor as last year's Samsung devices. Yeah, that's true. But I know the HTC U11, for some reason it didn't launch with 1080p 60 frames. Like, it only had 30 frames, and then later on they came out with the update to where it could do 60 frames. So I wonder if HTC figured something out with the U11. Because you're right, it is using the same SoC as the S8 and S8 Plus. So that's interesting. See, Donovan says, yeah, I used the S7 Edge for a while as well. Yeah, man, that camera was on point. The first one that really, I didn't care about pictures until the S6. When my wife got the S6 Edge, pulled the phone out, she had the gold one, 64 gigs, and I just pulled the camera up, and I was shocked. I took a picture, and it happened like that, which was an issue on Android phones up until then. Usually, you might, the shutter lag on Android phones before that was abysmal, especially if you were doing any kind of HDR processing. But I pulled that phone out. The screen being great probably helped out as well, but the pictures were crisp and clear in the viewfinder. When you touch the shutter button, it took the picture, and the pictures looked great. Ever since then, I've been all over cameras on phones and learning how to use them and getting better and stuff like that. But man, I'm about to wind it on down. We're hitting the hour. I only plan on going 30 minutes, but since it went public late, decided to hold it out and kind of discuss the things you guys wanted to discuss. But until next time, guys, I'm gonna holler at y'all. Peace.